Hello! Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Swissman15 back with a little special episode that I have. This is going to be a summary for the Britannia Hotseat campaign that I did with myself, Erupting Tsunami, Captain Invisible, Paladin Bob, and Swedish Landsknecht. I'm just going to summarize the first 1 to 15 turns. It's going to be cool. I have a little map here that I spent painstakingly making on Paint by drawing it and copying it. I'm getting all the regions correctly, and I'm sorry, that was an email that I got. Colleges will continuously email me day and night, non-stop. But, anyway, I made this little thing here. It has a map showing you who has what for the first 15 turns. It's going to go turn by turn. Each turn's military, financial, production, all that stuff. And then my own, down here, power and influence. This is my own personal idea of a ranking. So, this is going to go turn by turn. It's going to be each one is at the end of that turn, except for this one is the start. So, like, for turn 1, I think and then, yeah, so on and so forth. So, anyway, so we have the start where I start, Norway starts up here, Scotland and all. And overall, I just think England's in the best position, Scotland second, then Wales, then me as Norway, and then finally Ireland, I think, is in the hardest, not the hardest position, but the worst in power and influence overall. Then if we go to the next turn, we have turn number 1, where England's dominating still, except Ireland and Scotland have the more economical aspects of it. The only change is that the first war is breaking out between Wales and Ireland. Wales and England. Wales is pushing to Shrewsbury right down here. And basically the rankings hasn't changed much. So we go to turn 2, where we have the settlements in Ireland under the English control rebel. And I get some reinforcements up here in Norway. Other than that, nothing changes. Scotland's building up and going to this settlement, and I'm looking for these other outlying settlements. Ireland's not doing anything, and the war is revolving down here for the English-Welsh War. And then we get to turn 3, which is going to be a big turn, I think, because Oxford is taken by the Welsh in the war. It's a little problematic for the Welsh, I would say, because he's pushed himself in too deep, and now he's easy to cut off for the English, and I think that was a mistake by him. I took Skye up here, and then there are no other major changes for that turn. At this time, I think this is when I'm forming an alliance with Wales, or it might have been a little bit sooner, but this is where I think I'm first making ties, Norway and Wales making ties, and also Wales making ties with Scotland. And Captain has decided at this point that he's ditching Ireland altogether, so there is never going to be a war between Ireland and England at all. Then we get to turn 4, which is a good turn for me. I'm just expanding. I took Dunstafnage, which I think becomes my capital a few turns later. The Welsh took Cardiff, and now he has Wales under his control finally, and Oxford's still under his control, and the English are sacking Dublin, and they took it on turn 4. So good for them. And also, the war between Scotland and England has erupted. It was actually last turn, I missed it, but Scotland went down and took Newcastle. But I think pretty quickly he wants peace. I don't know if it was this turn or the next turn. My memory deceives me. So we go to turn 5, where England's still dominating, Ireland still financial, Scotland still production. But at this point, Wales is starting to crumble. His finances aren't doing too hot at all, and he's overextended himself. His armies are kind of not doing so hot. England has pulled himself together, gathered himself, and consolidated himself. And I've managed to take all these islands up here, and I have the islands under my control in some of the exterior of Scotland. And at this point, Scotland and I are looking a little bit shaky, by the way. But so I changed my influence and ranking here for the first time since beginning. I think I probably changed for the first time, but Scotland, I think, is in a very stable position. He's got an economy, he's got troops, he's got production, he's very safe, he's not at a two-front war or anything. England's crumbling, but he still has a lot of places, and I still think he's a major factor in world diplomacy and such. I think I'm rising a bit over Wales because Wales is starting to fall behind. He's just stuck down in Wales with debt and stuff, and I am free to... at this point I could attack Scotland or Ireland and really alter the game. So, then we have Ireland at the bottom, who still hasn't expanded at all, and he's just working on economy, and then I think he's going for dairy at this point. But he's not really in the world, he's just trying to take over Ireland, so he's not a world power, I would say, at this point yet. So then we go to turn 6. Ireland finally took Derry, as you can see right here, and this is the beginning of the war between me and Scotland. There's some skirmishes up by Inverness, and I start sieging it then, actually, and I send an army up here toward Dumfries, and this is the beginning of our war. The Welsh the Welsh have taken Lancaster. I think this is Lancaster, and they are still crumbling economically, and I think they try to do a peace that fails at this point. It doesn't really come through, so they're still fighting. And Scotland is, I think he starts going down to attack England again, ignite a second war, and actually besiege York over here. And Wales I put ahead of me again because he's just expanding once more, and he's gotten more territory, and he's got Scotland back in, so I think his influence went up a bit, and other than that everything remains the same. Turn 7, England's pulling himself together. He got Oxford back, so I think he's going back on top. His economy stabilizing, and at this point Wales and England agree to truce, even though he took Chester. Then it's like right after they're like, okay, let's go to peace. And then for me, as Norway, I think I'm moving up because I'm starting to go into Scotland. I took Inverness, and it's the beginning of a long war. And Ireland's still just dealing with his own internal affairs. And this is the first time I have production for myself. It's the first time on the leaderboards, really, for the entire campaign. It's a little bit different. It's the beginning of my rise as a power. And then turn 8, I took Glasgow, or Glasgow, as Captain Invisible calls it. He probably knows better. The peace between Wales and England has begun. He took the Lancaster over here has rebelled and went back to the English. The Welsh are in debt terribly, and over here in Ireland's still consolidating, but he's ahead of Wales because he's an economy. Now he's at a point where he can influence the world. He's starting to branch out, and he's talking with Scotland, making alliances and such at this point. I didn't know this at the time that he was making alliances, but I think this is when it started between Scotland and Ireland, if you've been following the hot seat all the way through. And that's all that's really happening. I'm just pushing in the north, trying to take these settlements. At this point, this is when I think Scotland made a huge mistake. He's pulled out back. He pulled everything back, and he didn't fight back, and that was a big problem because he allowed me to take his places, get more money, get more power, and enough to a point where he couldn't stop me anymore. If he had used his Perth army earlier, he probably could have pushed me back overall. But England is now going back up, and that's the big theme of turn 8. Turn 9, England's reunited, and that's really big because he's fixing himself up. Wales has been pretty much defeated without defeat. So I put him at the worst. He's doing terribly. He doesn't have much armies. His economy's terrible. And Scotland, I think, is better, even though he's going into debt terribly. But he still has his Perth army, which is a major influence in the game. I put myself on second because I'm dominating financial and production. And Ireland, I put as second because he's very he has a stable economy opposed to Wales or Scotland. And then you can see that it's just between me and England for the top 2, really, between both the AI ranking and my own ranking. And I also took Inverloch over here, and I sort of united what I have ahead of Scotland, and I'm still pushing in. Turn 10, I take Aberdeen, and the war is looking bleak for Scotland, but the problem is that next turn I get Wallace, and he gets Wallace, and I get Haakon, and that's a big changer. And then over here we see the Barons Alliance sprouts up in Dublin, Ireland, and it's up to Swedish Landschaft to decide if he wants to kill or not. And England is starting to push upwards with his armies to as my ally, but he's also working the Scots. It's not very it was a very weird thing, because he both helped me and damaged Scots at the same time, and he claims he was helping Scotland all along, but he helped me more than enough by attacking Scotland multiple times. So I'm not sure how that worked out, really. So I still have England on top, because England's booming now, since the war with Wales has stopped breaching him. Baron's Alliance is the AI. They don't spend anything, and he's cheating. Baron's Alliance is cheating. It's the AI, doesn't matter, but he's top in financial. England, everything else. So England has a huge influence. I think me becoming as a power than Scotland, because he still has the Perth army, and he's forced between us. And Ireland's still secluded, but more stable. And then Wales has no stable stuff or doing anything. He's sort of stuck here. He was contemplating invading Ireland, but that never seemed to go through. Then we go to turn 12, where nearly all of Ireland is united under the Irish rule. Wallace had taken back Inverness up here, and then I began sieging him with Haakon. So we have a little struggle going up on north, and we have some ragtag armies down in the south duking it out. And the English are pushing up to Edinburgh at this time. So I put Ireland above Scotland, because Scotland lost a few troops, and his main army is trapped with Wallace, and his Perth army is still down here, not doing anything. So he's just draining his own economy, and I think that Ireland is more stable. He's uniting Ireland, and he's ready to actually decide if Baron's Alliance lives or dies. Turn 13, I take Stirling, which is a very strategic position in Scotland. It's probably the most important castle. Even though it's not as big as Inverness, it's in a prime location to defend the entirety of Scotland. Sort of like Nottingham is to defend the heart of England, or Trim is for Ireland. They're all sort of comparable. So it's a good victory. There's still skirmishes between Wallace and Haakon's armies up here in the north. And overall, I think Wales, more important thing is Wales reignited the war with England and took Shrewsbury, and he's going back up. He sort of has his economy stabilized. He's not making money, but he's not losing money is the thing. So good job, Wales, and he's reunited the war with England, because it's his only way. And the Scottish get control of Trim as Ireland takes control of Dublin. So the Irish are harboring the Scottish for now and saving them, as he's losing the war up north, and he is pretty much the worst overall in position in comparison, really. Turn 14, Perth rebels, and the English take Edinburgh, so he's pushing through. He's fulfilling what I need him to do, and the Scottish aren't looking good. Wallace is trapped inside of Inverness again after a few more skirmishes transpired, and the Welsh are pushing on Gloucester down here. And so I still have England on top, because England still has a really powerful military and everything. He's still very, very strong, even though he's fighting on two fronts, but one front isn't much of a front yet. And then we have Ireland. He's ready, he's gotten control, and he's actually plotting to invade me. Not on his videos, but he must have been, because Scotland was his ally, and he's like, I gotta help Scotland. And anyway, turn 15, the Welsh took Gloucester, and the English are struggling to take back and put a defense against the Welsh down here at Gloucester, and the Welsh are pushing down hard south, and he's doing really, really well. So I put him above Ireland, because Ireland's still not doing anything despite plotting invasion against me. And the big thing that happens this turn is that England besieges Castletown, this strategic point in the middle of the sea between Ireland and the main island. And it's the beginning of a war between us. And at this point, Norway had like no army. Well, me. I keep on switching between back and forth. I had no army, and it's a bit of a struggle. My biggest army really was in Castletown at this point, so it was a real problem. But at this point, I just think the most promising is me, considering that I have the North united. I have the almost, and then oh my god, that cat! That was my cat. If you heard that. And I'm ready to push down. I'm up north and safe, but England's fighting on a two-front war, so I think I have the most promising position. But then I think close second would be Ireland, because he is in a prime position to attack anyone that he wants. So I think he would be a very close second, but I think overall I have it because I have the economy more than he does. I have the money, since the King's Purse really boosted me. And that's the entirety of the summary, I think. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys like the hot seat and keep checking it out. And I'll see you all in the next time, or the next summary, or the next episode, whichever you like best. And I hope you guys like, comment, subscribe. Did you like this little map situation that I had going on, where you could see the breakdown? If you did, please comment and say it. If you didn't, say that too. And I'll see you all in the next episode. Goodbye, my friends.